Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I am Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Hey, Massachusetts, your governor kind of sucks. Listen, many of you may have gone to bed a couple nights ago thinking about the big fight that you had coming up to stop the implementation of House Bill 4885 because it had an enactment date rapidly approaching of October 23rd. Now, even though the legislation was passed and signed in July, it was not set to go into effect until October 23rd. But then you woke up yesterday and you realized, oh my God, those gun laws had already gone into effect. Yeah, they have, and we're going to explain how and what can be done about it. So today, let's spend a few minutes and let's talk about the governor who hates democracy as much as she hates gun owners. They're saying, you know, what happens is these people get involved in these situations and then they're just denied coverage.
Yeah.
And I think that the model of what some of these companies run, as far as they run like insurance companies, actually leads to that result a little bit. But, you know, that's a fair criticism. People are going to invest money and you're going to be there when it hits the fan, and then it hits the fan and you're not there anymore. What can Right to Bear say that's going to make them different?
Well, yeah, I think that's a great point. You know, I come from the insurance industry, so I know it well. I know that insurance contracts are written by attorneys for the benefit of the insurance company, not the insured.
That's right.
So what we did at Right to Bear is, you know, we're first off, we're gun people that are in the business of supporting gun people. When we started the company, we knew of the numerous other players that had this market pretty captivated at the moment. And after reading their contracts of everybody, we determined that, hey, we can structure an arrangement that gives people, and really the citizens of our country, somebody that's going to be there when they need us most. That was what we prided ourselves on, and I know that sounds like a marketing piece, but it's the truth. That's why we started the business, right?
You're not truly prepared unless you have Right to Bear back you. You will always get an attorney-answered hotline, so you will always have a confidential phone call. There are no cap limits for either civil or criminal defense. This covers all forms of self-defense. So from a fist to a firearm, from a fat lip to a dead body, you are covered, and you will have some of the nation's most passionate 2A attorneys in your corner fighting for you. And right now, if you visit my friends at protectwithbear.com and you use the promo code WGL, you will receive 10% off. Listen, you need to protect yourself so that you can protect them. Visit my good friends at protectwithbear.com. Okay, here's what we're talking about, America. We're talking about Massachusetts House Bill 4885, one of the largest pieces of civilian disarmament legislation to come through a state legislature in modern times. It was literally a gun control omnibus bill. Of course, the Massachusetts state legislature passed it, and it was signed into law in July by Governor Healey. However, the law had an enactment date of October 23rd. Now, there is a process in Massachusetts, as I now understand, in which citizens can go out, gather signatures, and have the matter replaced back onto a ballot, and it would stay the enforcement of the law for 2 years while the citizens decide whether or not they should live under the confines of this law. Now, obviously, this law did not have originally an emergency enactment clause. It was signed into law on July 25th. It was going to be enacted into law on October 23rd. So the state's provision that allows citizens to go out and gather signatures was in play here. The only exception to it, of course, is if there is an emergency enactment clause. And this is where your governor really stepped out of her lane here, because she has decided now to approve amended language to the bill, which actually makes the bill effective now. So by the time you are watching this video, Massachusetts, you are already living under the purview of this law, which means that your citizens' attempt, as announced in the Constitution of your state, to go out, gather signatures, put it on the ballot, and let the citizens of Massachusetts decide how they best should be able to defend their lives. No. Your governor knows a lot better. This is kind of like a page out of Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham's playbook, and that is not a compliment. Now, when asked why almost 3 months after signing the law, the governor now decides to add this amended language, thus making it an emergency enactment clause, she was quoted as saying, "This is just when we were able to process it and look through it, review the legislation." Okay, so let me get this straight, Governor. You signed this bill almost 3 months ago. but you're just now getting around to it. You're just now processing it. Or here's an alternative theory. You are actually trying to circumvent the constitutional will of Massachusetts citizens and to actually strip them of democracy. Now listen, this bill threatens to put hundreds, if not almost every single FFL in the state of Massachusetts out of business, which was probably exactly one of the governor's intents. Toby Leary, who is the head of the Massachusetts Civil Rights Commission, was quoted as saying, "She is literally interfering with the democratic process that is unfolding, a constitutional process that is unfolding. She had 2 months to do this before. If it was such an immediate need and a dire threat to the state, why did they wait until they knew that we were going to be successful in our campaign? This is only an effort to silence the voices of 85,000 people that will be involved in this campaign." And of course, that campaign is to overturn this legislation. Now, Massachusetts, if you really want to geek out on what this law does, and if you don't know yet what this law does, shame on you, you can check out this video right here. But this law, like I said, it was basically an omnibus bill of civilian disarmament legislation. It bans individuals under the age of 21 from owning semi-automatic shotguns or semi-automatic rifles. It has a massive new prohibition on 3D printed and unserialized firearms with a provision that requires you to have serialized firearms by a date certain. That date is completely up in the air now because of this governor's actions. It bans technology that converts your firearm from semi-automatic to fully automatic, Glock switches, force reset triggers, and that. But if you take a look at the language in that, it's incredibly vague, and all sorts of problems are going to inevitably arise from the attempted enforcement of that provision. Oh, and then a whole new series of licensing and training requirements before you even get the privilege, that's right, because that's how Massachusetts views it, the privilege of being able to purchase and own a firearm. Oh, and by the way, the emergency enactment, shockingly, as we've seen in many other states that have done this, has left law enforcement completely unprepared and with absolutely no knowledge whatsoever about how they're going to enforce these laws or what they're even capable of enforcing. Amy Carnevale, who is the Massachusetts GOP chairperson, stated, "By invoking an emergency preamble to this flawed law targeting firearm ownership, Governor Healey is deliberately subverting the democratic process and trampling on the people's right to petition." And that is exactly the truth. Now, I think there's a lesson for all of us to learn here, which is that it's in many ways about the procedural mechanisms, because you can have the worst person possible as governor, but if procedurally their hands are tied behind their back, they cannot do what this governor did. Unfortunately, the state of Massachusetts Constitution provides for a governor to actually add to a law that's already been signed an emergency enactment date, which is unique because out here in the People's Republic of Washington, if there's an emergency enactment to it, it is something that has come out of the legislature as passed by both the House and Senate. Well, listen, the signature gathering and getting this back on the ballot plan is clearly not going to work now. Somebody needs to get a lawsuit filed right away. Somebody needs to file for an emergency injunction right away. I am sure there are some very worthwhile organizations working on it right away. This is probably not the last video that we're going to do about this, but bottom line, Massachusetts is your governor. Yeah, she sucks. Listen, if you got any more questions about this or about anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights, and in Massachusetts right now, that's not much. You should all know how to get a hold of Washington gun law by now, but if you don't, that's okay. That information, it's down there in the description box. Maybe you got an idea for a video we should be doing around here. If you do, go ahead and click on that link right there and let us know. It's probably going to be better than any idea we come up with. If you just want to subscribe to our monthly newsletter, the ability to do all of that is down there in the description box. And then finally, and most importantly, let's everyone remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation, how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching and stay safe.